This adventurous story begins with a girl named Sarah, who had a condition called autism. At the moment, she is placed inside an MRI machine for a proper body scan. Meanwhile, some doctors are performing procedures while her father, Ben, is also present, unsure how to help his daughter. Sarah didn't just have autism, she had several other strange illnesses that he had yet to find a cure for. As the MRI begins, Sarah grows increasingly scared, hearing unusual noises. Ben becomes alert and asks the doctors about it, but the male and female doctors reassure him that the machine only makes harmless sounds that are frightening her. Slightly relieved but still worried, Ben watches as the scanning starts. Sarah sees something in front of her eyes she cannot explain and panics, screaming and insisting on leaving. Confused, the doctors cannot intervene, so Ben opens the door and heads straight toward the MRI to pull her out. At one moment, it seems as if something is controlling Sarah's body, keeping her stuck in the machine for a while. Once it shuts down, Ben manages to get her out and places her in a wheelchair. Sarah keeps repeating that he has arrived, though no one knows what she means. To help relieve her stress, she uses her red chalk to draw, a method she relies on to express things she cannot speak. Ben always keeps multiple colors for her to use. Even as he wheels her forward, Ben worries about how to help her. Despite searching many places for treatments, he has found nothing, so he decides to take her to another hospital. Strange things continue to happen at this hospital. The doctors and assistants try to convince Ben that moving Sarah in her current state could be risky, but he seems determined. Sarah's drawings, filled with repeated circles, hint at something significant, soon to be revealed. As doctors and staff converse, Sarah notices a mysterious man, completely dark in appearance, who approaches her and whispers something in her ear. No one else seems to notice, and Sarah is stunned, dropping her chalk without reacting. Ben checks on her, shocked to find the chalk gone. Trying not to focus on small disturbances, he listens to the doctors and pauses, but his concern for his daughter grows as time passes. Heavy rain pours outside, prompting Ben to decide he must leave with Sarah without informing anyone. He lifts her into the wheelchair and moves forward, soon encountering the doctor's assistant, Amy, who urges him to wait and assures him they will care for her, warning against any risk. Ben, however, seems set on his decision, ignoring Amy's repeated attempts to convince him, and heads for the elevator to go down to the ground floor. Amy follows to ensure he leaves safely. Inside the elevator, a man named John is already present. Shortly after, a security officer named Rick enters with a patient named Toby, who is being returned to his ward. As the elevator descends, a short circuit occurs, causing it to stop between the 6th and 7th floors. All electronics fail, plunging the space into darkness. Toby panics, collapsing and struggling to breathe. While Ben focuses on watching over Sarah, Amy rushes to assist Toby, performing CPR to stabilize him. At one point, Toby felt certain he wouldn't survive, but thanks to Amy's repeated efforts, he regained his composure. However, a strange thing was noticed. As Toby stood up, he asked, "Why didn't you let me die? Why did you save me and let me go?" Rick was also baffled by this and tried contacting the rest of the security department to fix the elevator. While the lift was restored, the focus shifted to John, who was behaving strangely and seemed to be hiding a dark secret he hadn't revealed to anyone. The elevator resumed moving but, instead of reaching the ground floor, stopped automatically at a safe floor. The doors opened, and everyone stepped out cautiously, only to find the floor completely empty, no doctors, nurses, or patients. Rick was stunned at the desolate scene, even the usual staff weren't present. Amy and Ben cautiously called out, but no one responded. Things were growing increasingly strange. When the elevator refused to function again, Rick decided they would use the stairs, only to find the stairwell door locked, leaving them trapped. At this moment, Toby kept repeating frantically, "Can't you see him? He's here, and his terror has begun." Ben, Amy, and Rick assumed Toby had lost his mind and ignored him. As Rick cautiously moved forward, he heard continuous printing noises from a room, surrounded by stacks of printed papers. Opening the door, he saw a printer running and turned it off, but no one was present. Amy noticed bizarre symbols on the papers, like someone screaming through them, a sight beyond their comprehension. Moving further, they heard a woman's voice and approached to find a lady in a wheelchair, facing the wall. Rick drew his gun while Amy followed to get a closer look. When they finally saw her face, they were horrified. The woman was dead, her eyes gouged out, a grotesque and brutal death in such a strictly regulated hospital. Amy quickly covered her face to prevent anyone else from seeing it. Ben kept his daughter Sarah close, shielding her from the terror. Rick tried to contact the intercom, but there was no response, only a distorted echo of his own voice. All the electronics had failed, leaving them with no option but to break through the stairwell door to reach the ground floor. Rick led the way, breaking the door, and they began descending into total darkness, unable to see anything around them. Ben lifted Sarah from her wheelchair into his arms and slowly moved forward. As they descended, they heard whispering, as if someone was beckoning them downward. Rick shouted, demanding whoever it was to show themselves, but there was no reply until a gunshot rang out, fired directly at him. Luckily, Rick dodged in time, though he sustained a minor injury to his neck. Amid the chaos, John's 3 teddy bears fell to the floor, scattering as the group continued down into the ominous darkness. Everyone, terrified, began running toward the lower floors. If someone was really down there with a gun, they could all be in grave danger. For the moment, to protect themselves, they stopped on the 5th floor and entered a ward. Rick and the others had no idea who was behind this or what the hospital's other security staff were doing. Panic had taken over. Amit quickly attended to Rick's injuries first. John, like Toby before him, began saying that, "They will kill us, none of us will survive." No one understood why John and Toby were saying this or how they concluded there was someone else present besides them. Meanwhile, Sarah was also sensing strange sounds, which she expressed by drawing on her notebook with her chalk. Her drawings revealed bizarre faces that seemed connected to the entire building, but no one noticed them. Had they seen, they might have understood what was about to happen. Guided by Rick, the group moved toward the other side of the ward, uncertain what they would face next. This was only the beginning of the unknown entity that no one had anticipated. Traveling further, Rick and John reached the broadcasting room and reviewed security camera footage. Soon, their attention focused on a clip showing 2 people moving through the building, one a lady, the other a man carrying a gun, escorting the lady to the 3rd floor. John immediately decided they needed to confront this intruder on the 3rd floor, assuming he was behind all the chaos, and even announced their arrival over the broadcasting microphone. Rick, realizing this was reckless, pulled him back, warning it was far too dangerous. Meanwhile, Ben, Amy, and the others were discussing the situation when Sarah noticed a room behind them, seemingly calling her. Without telling anyone, she wheeled herself into the room as the door opened automatically. Realizing Sarah was missing, Ben panicked and began searching frantically. When he entered the room, he saw his daughter facing another direction in her wheelchair, apparently talking to someone, before suddenly going silent and lowering her head. Terrified, Ben quickly took Sarah out of the room. At that moment, all their phones started ringing and heating up intensely, prompting Amy to cover her ears. Toby, seeing this, did the same. Soon, the temperature dropped, and strange new sounds filled the air, unlike anything they had ever heard. Looking into a nearby mirror, they saw the terrifying shadow of a spirit, dangerously alive and attacking them. Everyone immediately ran to another room, with the spirit chasing them, intent on killing them. Fortunately, they reached the room safely, and even when Rick fired at the spirit, the bullets had no effect. But by accident, the X-ray machine is activated, spreading radiation throughout the area, and this forces the spirit to flee. Everyone is left shocked, wondering what just happened and what that entity really was. For a moment, it feels like a nightmare, but they soon realize it is reality and must be accepted. John panics so badly that he dismisses everything as hallucination, insisting they are all imagining things and that none of it truly exists. The others try to calm him down and urge him to think rationally, but John blames Ben and his daughter, believing Sarah's strange behavior is the reason all this is happening. Without waiting any longer, John grabs his briefcase and storms off, unaware of what awaits him. As he approaches the elevator, something changes suddenly, the doors refuse to close, and eerie noises rise from below. A terrifying figure with long claws begins emerging from beneath the elevator. John screams for help, prompting Ben and Rick to rush over and pull him back. A deadly creature tries to drag John down, and although Rick doesn't have his gun, he refuses to let go. He grabs a fire extinguisher and attacks the creature, which proves extremely dangerous and injures John's leg badly before disappearing as the elevator descends. Rick and Ben manage to carry the wounded John back, only to discover that Toby, who was with Amy and Sarah, has put a gun to his own head. Amy desperately tries to calm him, but Toby claims he has died many times before and that death means nothing to him anymore. Suddenly, Sarah softly says that everyone will find peace, and her words instantly calm Toby. He lowers the gun and hands it to Amy, leaving her confused about what just happened. Rick and Ben return with the injured John, and Amy begins treating his wounds, realizing that everything unfolding is far beyond their understanding. However, in the ward, the group, including Ben and his companions, was extremely panicked. John, whose leg had been badly injured, blamed Sarah for all the chaos, insisting from the beginning that she should be removed from the situation. Hearing this, Ben angrily warned John to stop speaking about his daughter, threatening him if he continued. John, frustrated and fixated on Sarah, continued talking, prompting Ben to press on his injured leg in anger. The atmosphere had become completely tense and unsettling. The group decided to continue moving down using the stairs, but Sarah kept drawing on her notebook, capturing details no one else noticed. It seemed she could sense what was about to happen and was documenting it in advance. Ben, deeply worried about his daughter, pressed on despite the danger. As they descended to the third floor, they discovered the door below had been locked, trapping them on this floor, the same one where CCTV footage had shown a man carrying a gun and escorting a woman. Entering cautiously, they found the area in disarray, with the dead body of a doctor who had treated Sarah lying there. Amy was shocked, as she had known this doctor for years. The bodies of all the nurses and ward boys were also strewn across the floor, likely the work of the same creatures and spirits they had previously seen. Suddenly, Toby found a recorder near the doctor. When played, a voice commanded that if anyone wanted to leave, they must leave the little girl, Sarah, behind. Everyone looked at Ben, wondering what he would do in this situation. The recorder made it clear, until Sarah was left there, no one could escape. Ben refused to abandon his daughter and immediately grabbed her. As they moved forward, the dangerous creature attacked. It killed Toby first, sending everyone into panic. Rick fired repeatedly at it, but the bullets had no effect. The creature then lunged at Rick, killing him effortlessly, as if killing humans was second nature. The remaining survivors, Ben, Amy, John, and Sarah, managed to escape to another room, surviving the encounter for the moment. When Ben and Amy looked out the window, they were stunned. Earlier, heavy rain had been pouring outside, but now everything was frozen in place, raindrops suspended in midair, lightning paused in the sky. It was as if time had stopped. They had no idea how powerful these unknown forces could be. A tense moment arose between John and Ben because John wanted Sarah to be left behind so they could escape, but how could a father abandon his daughter? No matter what, Ben refused to hand Sarah over to the spirits. Amy calmed everyone down and immediately used a communication device to contact the other side. The same eerie voice from the 6th floor came through again, and Amy realized they were trapped in a loop, sensing each other's presence repeatedly. The question now was how to escape this loop of dangerous spirits. Wherever they went in the hospital, the spirits would track them, and the only way out seemed to be leaving Sarah behind, something Ben would never do. Meanwhile, Sarah's condition began to worsen. Amy checked her and told Ben that she needed medication immediately, or things could go terribly wrong. Ben asked where to find the medicine, and Amy instructed that it was in a room to the right of the emergency ward, but the path was blocked. Undeterred, Ben decided to go, taking a flashlight, and Amy insisted on going with him. He entrusted Sarah's safety to John, warning him that if anything happened to her, he would not survive. Together, Ben and Amy headed toward the emergency room. Ben even carried a hammer to break through a wall and create direct access. After much effort, the wall gave way, and they reached the stairs. As they cautiously moved, they heard noises from the upper floors, as if many people were coming down. Suddenly, 3 teddy bears fell from above, confirming someone, or something, was there. Ben fired a shot, and the strange sound ceased. Then a shocking revelation struck both Ben and Amy. This had happened before. On the 6th floor, as they descended earlier, teddy bears had fallen and a gunshot had sounded, but they realized they themselves had fired it. Time seemed frozen, blending past and future, trapping them in a loop where the same events repeated. Ben and Amy now had to reach the others to warn them about the imminent danger, but first, Ben had to get the medication. Meanwhile, John sat with Sarah, insisting she show him her drawings, but Sarah refused. John, selfishly focused on his own safety, pressured her anyway, highlighting the tension between protecting life and self-interest in this chaotic, frozen world. So John decided he would hand Sarah over to the spirits, believing at least then he might be allowed to leave. He immediately grabbed Sarah's wheelchair and moved toward an isolated area. Using some unknown method, John tried to summon the spirits, calling out that their prey was now with him, demanding the others leave. Suddenly, someone appeared from behind. It was Toby. Toby immediately attacked John, trying to protect Sarah, but John, intent on self-preservation, killed Toby. At that moment, Sarah's behavior changed drastically. She turned, glaring angrily. All the lights began flickering violently, and a terrifying demon emerged. The demon grabbed John, choking him nearly to death, but fortunately, Ben and Amy arrived just in time. Ben threw a stretcher at the demon, causing it to collide and fall to the floor below. Even Ben and Amy, seasoned as they were, felt fear in the face of these horrors, but their priority remained saving Sarah. Moments later, Ben noticed Sarah was missing and immediately ran to find her, which caused him and Amy to get separated. Amy reached a room and quickly hid under a bed, knowing the deadly creature in the room was hunting people and would kill her if it saw her. Meanwhile, Ben, searching for Sarah, entered another room and found himself in a completely different environment. Everything looked pristine and normal. Doctors and patients were moving around as if nothing had happened. It seemed safe, but as he tried to speak with anyone, he realized it was only an illusion. No one was really there. Ben quickly contacted Amy via walkie-talkie, and the next moment, when he opened the door, he was back in the destroyed, pitch-dark hospital. Ahead, he saw Sarah sitting in her wheelchair, and as he stepped forward, the deadly creature appeared before him. Ben tried to fight, but the demon was far stronger, grabbing him by the throat and lifting him off the ground. It seemed almost impossible for him to survive, but just then, Toby reappeared from behind. Toby thrust a sharp weapon into the demon's stomach, injuring it slightly, and Ben was thrown to the ground. But the demon quickly retrieved the weapon and killed Toby instantly. Poor Toby was gone. Seizing the moment, Ben grabbed his daughter Sarah and rushed to Amy's side. The three of them desperately tried to escape, heading toward the elevator. After getting Sarah inside, they realized the creature was approaching them, but the elevator closed just in time. Now their only way was down to the ground floor. The danger didn't end there. The spirit that had appeared to them first now emerged inside the elevator, attacking Amy and wounding her badly. They quickly forced the elevator open and fled. Ben made sure Sarah was secure while Amy was severely injured. Soon, they realized that the ward they had reached was swarming with more creatures, who immediately attacked. Ben grabbed Sarah and ran, while poor Amy got trapped as the door slammed behind her. Unable to rescue her, Ben carried Sarah to the hospital parking area, hurriedly placing her in a truck to escape. Meanwhile, the dead patients in the hospital began rising, seemingly alive, trying to capture them by any means possible. Ben was cautiously moving forward with Sarah in his arms when suddenly, she began whispering strange, otherworldly words. The tone was firm, almost commanding. It was as if she was speaking directly to the darkness itself. The meaning was unmistakable. This was the moment to end it. Blinking rapidly, Ben opened his eyes, and Sarah was gone. Panic surged through him, only to be replaced by awe and confusion when she appeared in front of the car, glowing with an ethereal blue light. Her entire body shimmered as if charged with energy, radiating an almost divine presence. Ben couldn't comprehend what was happening. His daughter had transformed into something beyond human understanding. Suddenly, the dark spirits that had haunted Ben from the beginning appeared, swirling around him like a black storm. They reached out, attempting to engulf him, their forms shifting and writhing with malicious intent. Ben screamed, struggling to resist, but the spirit's power was overwhelming. Death seemed inevitable. But Sarah, fully aware of her own power, turned calmly to face the looming demon. Its eyes glowed with hatred, its massive form towering over her. Yet she spoke with clarity and authority, "This is your end." As she stepped forward, the demon's shadow began to falter, breaking apart like smoke in the wind. With every step she took, the darkness dissolved, and light began flooding the scene. In an instant, the nightmare world shattered, replaced by a brilliant, blinding light. The hospital returned to its original state. Sarah was back inside the MRI machine, her struggles real and human once again, yet the terror had passed. Ben carefully helped her out, wrapping his arms around her as if shielding her from any remaining danger. Around them, the world seemed calm, almost serene, yet the memories of the chaos lingered like a shadow. This time, Sarah didn't reach for her usual red chalk. Instead, she picked up a blue one, drawing carefully on the page. Her movements were deliberate, almost ritualistic, as if putting the final piece of the nightmare to rest. Then, approaching her with a reassuring presence, was Toby. Alive, calm, and smiling faintly, he gestured that everything was truly okay now. The dangerous, time-warped loop that had trapped them in the hospital's horrors was finally broken. Ben breathed a sigh of relief, holding Sarah close. The hospital was quiet, the air still, and the heavy sense of dread had lifted. Hope returned with the knowledge that the terrifying events were over, for now. The loop, the spirits, the demons, they had all been confronted and defeated. And for the first time since this nightmare began, Ben, Sarah, and their allies could finally feel safe. That's how the story ends here.